Come on in, come on in. Like, share, subscribe. We gon' speak on it today, you dig? Speak on it, you know where you at. It's where knowledge flow free, so sit down and relax. I said, speak on it, you know what it is. And if you're coming fugazi, then it is what it is. I said, speak on it, you know where you at. It's where knowledge flow free, so sit down and relax. I said, speak on it, you know what it is. If you're coming fugazi, then it is what it is. Come on in.
Yes. Appreciate you from having me. How you doing? Well, Geechee is we're it's a it's people, and being a Gullah Geechee, most of the men are peaceful men. We kind of live different. We live off the grid. Um, we're a lot different. We're respectful. We're peaceful, but we we have a tendency of being a little different, being a little real. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but Geechee women and Geechee men, we're loyal to a fault. And we were here. It's a little bit different for us with the whole slavery thing. Um, Most of my ancestors and my people, we were here already. So okay. Well, as a kid, I wanted to be a fireman. Uh, when we went to when I went to the elementary school, they regentrified the neighborhood, so they bused us about 35, 40 minutes away to go to school. And I just thought it was cool when they had career day. They brought out a fire truck. They had us go on the fire truck. They had us turn on the sirens and all that type of stuff. So I just thought it would be cool to be a fireman. Mm. Well, I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, but then I grew up in Brunswick, Georgia. It's a small town. Uh, it's a little bit behind the times. We aspire to be a big city. A lot of your small cities is very dangerous because they watch the ebb and flow of the bigger cities, and they try to emulate the bigger cities. So they want to be just like them. So some of your small cities are doing some of the craziest things because they're trying to be like the big brother city. So Brunswick is no different. The educational system is a little bit lacking. Um, as you guys got a glimpse to see, the justice system down there is more of a you do as they say. A lot of people don't go to trial. A lot of folks just take a plea bargain. So our town was a little bit different. I don't know how a lot of other people's towns are, but our town they kind of kept us in our place a little bit. I'm one of eight. My sister being the oldest, and then my eldest brother was the first boy, and then I'm next to last out of seven boys. It's one girl and seven boys straight.
Wow. Kwame, how you doing, man? It's a pleasure, Kwame, how you doing, man? It's a pleasure, man, to
Appreciate
get
you.
you here, man. I want you to tell the people, some of the most positive influences you had growing up.
Some of the most positive influences I had were I always tell the young kids to get connected to the elders. I think it's important um, to have that older voice that don't lie to you. Um, there was always an elder woman or elder man that was always able to tell the neighborhood the truth without somebody being violent towards them or disrespectful towards them. But I think we've gotten away from that. So I had a 70-year-old man when my brothers went to prison. Five out of my seven brothers went to prison. All of us were arrested at one point, but that number is real when it comes to the prison, the pipeline, where you fall. Uh, as far as the siblings and all those things play a major part in how they see us. And coming from an impoverished situation, coming from that many children, there's not one psychiatrist, there's not one person that look at us as we're going to make it. So we overcome some of the worst situations. So I always look at us as the strongest generation or the strongest race of people because we get put in the worst situations. And a lot of us come through those situations, but they don't look at it the way that they should.
And you know what? You kind of answered my second question I had for you. Like, I know you said you use the elders as a positive influence, but I know that influence it ain't always there with you. So,
Hmm.
kid growing up, because I grew up in a kind of rough neighborhood myself. But
Hmm.
what are some of the things you did to maintain what they taught you and how to keep yourself in a straight line? Because I know that was hard, man. Because when those elders not there to keep touching you on your shoulder, what are some of the things you did, man, to just maintain that road, man?
Well, I was that kid that, like Boys in the Hood, I was the kid who got out the car. You know, there was a couple situations that were close calls. We laugh at the kid that do the right thing, and we pick on the kid that has the book bag with the extra books in it. But I was that kid. You have to be of the world, or you have to be in the world, but not of the world. And that's what a lot of older folks pushed home to me. Like, if you're looking like everybody else, if you're behaving like everybody else, then something's not going right. You got to dare to be different. They taught us that in school, but a lot of kids, um, they don't stand on that hill and down that hill on their own. A lot of my teenage years, it was lonely. You know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of male friends. Like I can go to some of my male friends right now, and the guys I went to high school with, they was the cool kids. They still up under the tree doing the same thing, smoking weed, drinking that same beer that they had when we was in high school. So you, as a kid, you got to be okay with being different. A lot of the guys that used to pick and joke and do certain things, they've worked for me. They've done odd jobs for me now as an adult. So I would tell any kid, just stay positive. Um, Make sure you're doing the right things. It's okay to be different. You know, we're going to get picked on. I got picked on my whole childhood. I had on XJ 900s. You know what I mean? I had the high waters. I had the bell bottoms. There was a lot of things to get picked on about. But at the end of the day, the old folks always told me, as long as you keep your nose clean and your head down, you'll be able to change that situation. So I just kept those words in the back of my head anytime before I made a decision.
Y'all hear that, kids? It's okay to be a leader, not a follower. And
Mm,
grown up, the same thing applies to you. It ain't too late because you can follow yourself and follow someone else over a cliff. So you got to be
mm.
careful, man. And the next question, man, and I know it was real stressful for you, man. I want to know the most stressful thing it was for you getting drafted at that age, man, that's a lot of stress, man. How did you
Mhm.
handle that?
Well, the most stressful thing to me was seeing people that I love go to prison and succumb to the environment around us. Um, I always paid attention, like I said, to the adults and the older people around me, and they seem to struggle during worse times, but they did it in a better way. So I always kind of used older people as a guide. So when I saw my brothers, going to prison, I saw, the help that they were giving my mom being taken away. And when he gave me an ultimatum, he said, "Look, man, we lie to kids a lot now. That's not what adults used to do back in the day. They respected kids enough to tell them a little more of the truth. And right now, I think we lie to kids with the ideal of protecting them, but all we do is set them up for life that they can't handle. If you look at most kids nowadays, they don't have any perseverance. Things are going to happen to us all. How you deal with those things, like Larry Elder said, how you deal with said things. He said his father said that that's what lets him know if you're a man, if he raised a man or not. And a lot of these kids, they can't deal with adversity because sometimes parents are trying to make sure that their kids are straight and set up in such a way that we overbearing. We stand in front of every little situation, and so we make our kids weaker. And I implore parents to tell kids the truth. Kids are they're way more resilient than you think. They hear way more arguments than you think they hear. So if we're a little more honest with our children, I think they'll stand up to the occasion and give results that we want to see.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Now you know it's gonna be some kids that's inspired by what you just said.
Hmm.
So they gonna know you was number one pick. What would you say to that inspiring young athlete, that kid that's growing up and trying to attain what you have done, seen, and acquired?
I would say that your dreams are beautiful and they're correct. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other to obtain your dreams. Most of the adults, I used to call them dream stealers. I know Meek Mill is dream chasers. I would call adults dream stealers because most of the adults, a lot of adults are broken and they tell kids what they couldn't do or what they were afraid to do. So me as a kid, I would say the most outlandish things. I'm going to buy my mother a house. I'm going to go, I'm going to go to the NBA. All of my dreams were bigger than my situation. And every time I did that, every time I said something and manifested it, it came to light. So I would tell these kids to get away from any adult, whether it be your mother, father, whoever else. Get away from them while you're in that process of dreaming and trying to obtain those dreams. Because once you see them to fruition, you can actually help those people. But if you're hearing that negative tone all the time, they can block you from getting your blessing or your dream. So your dreams are important. Keep striving and keep doing.
Hey,
I'm living proof that dreams work. So
what you call that dream stealer?
yeah, a lot of adults they're dream stealers. A lot of people around me said that when I would say certain things like I'm gonna go to the league and this is and that, first thing they would say is they would compare me to somebody in my family. They would compare me to an uncle that may have tried to play basketball but didn't make it. They would compare me to all the failure stories in the family. And that's a sad thing that we do to each other. When one says he's going to do something or she says she's going to do something, a lot of us try to go do the business of making sure that doesn't happen.
Interesting. I know you had one thing you was can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I used to think she was crazy. uh, she once she saw my brothers getting out of control and going to prison, she kind of tightened in the reins on me and my other brother. Like she was just she was just trying to get it right. You know what I mean? A lot of women, um, they're in these same similar situations, so they understand as a woman, they know that they're doing the best that they can, and she's given that discernment, she's given that wisdom. But my mother never said that she can raise men, so she would always seek out a program, or she would always seek out something. I went to fellowship for Christian athletes, and so my mom always was conscious of getting a positive male role model around, because some young men, if you don't have that, if you don't have that to curb the testosterone, and when we get to that certain age and we think we know everything, if you don't have that, that could be detrimental in a kid's life. Oh, it was all that. I mean, in my era, it wasn't a lot of the gun action and the firearms like it is now, but it was a lot of fights. It was the early start of gangs, where most people was hand to hand, things like that. But you can kind of maneuver around it if you didn't go to certain places, if you didn't hang with certain people, you didn't have to worry about that. So you kind of picked your poison. But a lot of the kids nowadays, they're under so much pressure. It's kind of hard to. I, I would say I'm glad I didn't grow up in this new generation, because it's more of a group think, and it's not a lot of individuals. They're not teaching people to be individuals. They're teaching everybody to fit in with the crowd, because if you fit in, it's safer, it's easier. It didn't allow you to be scrutinized or judged that way. Oh man, everything was about uh, race and class. Like, more people don't understand that it's about money and classism more, in my opinion, than racism. They have some black people that they treat just like white people, as long as they're from a good family and a certain class of people. Um, I was in the free lunch line with certain white kids that other white people would treat worse than me. um, we we understand that there's more white people on welfare than there are black. So my perspective is a little bit different in race. When there's four white kids in front of me and three of them behind me, in a free lunch line, and everybody's being treated the same. So it's kind of hard for me to look at a poor white guy, uh, the same as I would look at a rich white guy. I just look at class and impoverished people as certain white folks are going to treat us all the same.
Hey, Kwame, I know you had mentioned about starting something for coding for kids.
Hmm.
Come on, man. And how could we be an assistant to you?
Well, one thing that me and Miss Angela Stanton, we just had an event down in here in Atlanta, and I asked the politicians and the people that was running for Congress directly, like, how does a theory skip the line and beat coding and trades as far as what we need to teach our youth? We have statistics that can back up what coding is doing in the future, and where coding is going. STEM, we know what that is doing. That research, and trades are in our prisons now, and it's affecting our youth. Um, our teenage boys are getting arrested at alarming rates, getting baseball numbers, and all of the trades that I'm talking about need to be in high school. They're privatized and they're in the prisons. So you got these young guys are working for 15, 16 cent a day, uh, and they could be doing that for a living out here in the streets and being able to help their families. I don't think we have a government that's doing the best interest in the will of the people. I think they have a certain class of people, i.e., black folks, that they've mastered a way to make money off of it in our life and our death.
Would you think that's one of the reasons why they removing trade from high school?
Hmm.
Yeah,
They
because
want they want an unskilled, untrained black male, because if you date that back to slavery, when the slaves became free, what they did was they criminalized everything. So the black male, anytime he did anything, he went to jail, and they gave our women jobs. So it's still kind of that concept now, where they, if you look, Goldman and Sachs gave black women $90 million. Not one time throughout history have they given a black male anything but a jail sentence. It's something to us as black men. You put us in the worst situations ever. And if they highlight what these young black men are doing, if you look at LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kwame Brown, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Garnett, track all these young men and look at their backgrounds, look at their environments where they grew up. Young men are kicking draws and asses. I'm sorry for cursing. We do great things and they don't highlight it. They pit us against our women. They make it seem like if you create a black boy magic, that means that you're putting down black girls. And that's not true. If we're both kings and queens, then there's no way that a mother with a black son should have to look over at his sister and she's touted black girl magic, while he could be making honor roll, he could be a McDonald's All American, he could be whatever, and there's no accolades, there's no media push, there's no black boy magic. Why is that?
You know, I heard you talk about masculinity a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to really kind of break down how they are demasculating the male. Because I don't think a lot of people really understand that it's a system how they do this. It's set up in a system. And they have to nurture that system in order for the system to continue to grow. So could you please explain, in your humble opinion, how they are doing that now?
They're making it beneficial, they're making it lucrative to be homosexual and LGBTQ. You get all this attention, and there's no offense to nobody, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but Dwayne Wade has a son who's great at basketball, and just like his other son who transitioned into a young lady. um, who gets the most attention? Who gets the purses and the deals and the accolade? It's the son who is saying now that he wants to be a female. So when you brainwash kids that way and you do that, what women don't understand, I think smart women get it. Truly masculine men, they're the protectors of women. That is their number one job. There's always been a man that if another man got out of line, that masculine alpha male or that male that was raised the right way is going to come and give said correction. And if you take away all those men, who's going to protect women?
Excellent point. Excellent point. Ro, you got any further questions?
Well, my first love was football. Uh, my thing was my mom was one of those type of women, like she's like, you're not gonna be in the house. Uh, you had to do your homework, and the only rule was you got to get out of this house. Do not come in this screen door too many times, because if I see you in, you got to stay in here, uh, and just be back before the street light come on. So we played every sport all year round. We just changed with the season. We played baseball, football, basketball, soccer, anything to get out the house, which these kids don't do now. But one day I was playing football and I got hit uh, by a guy about 5'3". I was about 6'2" in eighth, ninth grade. I got hit on the knee coming across. Somebody tricked me into going to offense because I love defense. A guy hit me and flipped me over the top of hit my helmet on the ground.
At
And my
middle,
mom said, "That's your last day playing football." She said, "That's it."
huh? Caught you in them ribs, huh?
Yeah, man. He caught me right above the knee, just bam, flipped me over. My mom said, "No, you ain't playing this no more. That's it." So good decision. My mom was looking out for me.
Brothers know that.
Black male athletes especially got to work 3 times harder than everyone else, especially when you have the background that we have. They have a racket going on now where they make us black folks like beg for every position that we have. They try to make it seem like they're giving us an opportunity when in fact Any McDonald's All-American is bringing millions of dollars to any campus that we get on, we go to. So it's not. We should never negotiate from a because I'm from the hood or because my father did something. As you see with me on the internet, that's what they've been using against me my whole life. The sins of my father, the sins of my brother or whomever else. So I've always dealt with that. But I always kept my head held high and kept solid and rooted in the fact that I'm an individual. You know what I mean? Whatever someone else does, God is not going to judge me for what my father did or what my brother did. He's going to judge me for what I did. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, they lied to me so much. They took me to these white schools and they told me I could be the president. But then as I got older, I realized that no, they're not really being honest. But I just had such a love for competition. When they took me to those schools and I was seeing how other people were living, and it's important that we show our kids things other than the neighborhoods and the blocks that we're from, because that's what shaped my mindset to think that, man, I can do it. Like how could they live like this, and why can't I get a piece of that? And I started setting out like, this is what I want to do. What are they doing? What are these kids doing? They were doing their work. They were getting their education. So I started doing my work. I stopped hanging out with my friends. I'm like, I want a big house like they got. So it was like a healthy competition. I'm like, whatever they're doing, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it better than they do it, and I'm gonna beat them at their own game, and I'm gonna get my mama that same house that they have. So I just put it in my mind, and I did the steps to get it done.
Well, what do you think the recruiting process is different from when they recruited you? What's the difference now?
I don't think it's any different. They're gonna do what they do. These coaches, they're gonna do what they do. But I think, well, there is one difference. The kids got a little more leverage now because they get paid off of their likeness, which is very important. Because you can have kids from the inner city that's making these colleges and universities a lot of money, but then the coach can't even buy them a pizza. You know what I mean? So them being able to capitalize on their likeness, I think you're going to see a lot more players do what the number one football recruit did, which is go with Deion Sanders, because now they're not forced to think I have to go to Ohio State, I have to go to Alabama to get seen, because not only are they going to start getting paid, but the sponsorships and the ads are going to go wherever the talent is. So I think it's important. These young guys need to really start making these universities decisions based on, some sort of pride with your race and your culture. Let's pump HBCUs and let's see what happens. Let's bring the talent to these schools, these smaller schools, and let's take a real good look at it.
Majority owner in the NBA. Do you think we'll ever see an African American that has full control and more stockholder, more stock holdings in the NBA in our time? This moment.
Uh, the only guy I can see them doing that for at this point is maybe LeBron. Um, they speak about LeBron so much and they highlight him so much that I just believe that that Lyndon Baines Johnson and what he said just rings strong to me. So anybody that they put in front of me to tell me to like, I look at them twice. I look at them 3 or 4 times, because it's like, why are you telling me to like this person? And everybody they tell me not to like, 9 times out of 10, I understand why they're saying it, and those are the people that I 9 times out of 10 like. So I don't know. I'm just weird. Like I was one of those kids that always was asking the questions that other people was afraid to ask. I asked a pastor one day, "What do you struggle with? You almost seem perfect. You're telling everybody and teaching everybody else what to do. What do you struggle with? And that pastor was honest with me. He said, I struggle with the same thing you struggle with. I was a teenager at the time. I was into women. I'm still into women. And he said, well, I struggle in my marriage. I struggle with this. And he was very honest. And it just made it on a real level, because a lot of times we pedestalize people instead of understanding that they're just as flawed. Whether it's a psychiatrist, whether it's your pastor, you cannot pedestalize these people and bring their teachings into your home and ruin what you have in your home. Your unit is your unit. Your unit got to become before anything else.
Bro.
That old man told me they don't make no more land. So I started buying land. And what I noticed is, and what I'm afraid is happening now, is that a lot of athletes are broke while they're making so much money right now, because they have a system in place to take their money from them. Um, these a lot of guys I know, at the height of my earnings, I think I was making maybe per 2 weeks, I was making maybe 400,000 or $500,000 every 2 weeks. And so when you command that type of revenue and that type of income, the best thing that you can have is a personal relationship with any bank, with any credit union. And most athletes, if not all, they don't have a personal relationship. They have a banker who has said relationship. They have a banker who goes and get these lines of credit and these things. And I believe that they're siphoning out these guys' money. So most of your athletes are going to be broke um, 4 or 5 years after they're done playing, because that's when they're going to start paying attention. Because the whole racket is, when you're playing a sport that's demanding as ours, you don't have time to sit and have so many distractions. So they push you, just focus on doing what you do, and we got you. And that we got you, they really do. They're gonna get you. And so most athletes don't know where their money is. Billy Hunter's son used to ask us all the time, "Who's watching your money?" So the average athlete, we talk pro-black, and you wonder why things don't ever change, is because most of these athletes' money is in someone's white hands, almost all. Work. Um, I didn't see a lot of my friends because I was at AAU tournaments. Um, Same way, I go back home and I see them now. They're used to that. Kwame's gonna leave. He's gonna be gone. He's gonna come back and holler at us. And a lot of guys that I see end up stuck in these small towns. They have a love for their friends. They have a love for hanging out. They have a love for the slow pace, relaxed environment. And me, I just always wanted more. Like, I'm like, this is not my life. I ain't get the ball yet. Like, no, I'm not living like that. I want more for myself. I want more for my kids. So I would always miss out on the fun stuff. And a lot of these kids are being taught to party, 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 and turn up, turn up, turn up. But when you ask these young people, why are you partying so much? They don't even know.
Very interesting. So when you was coming up and as a rookie, did they have any rookie symposium to kind of teach you guys money management or the do's and the don'ts of coming into the NBA at such a young age?
They do, but most of the programs that they put you in, you're at the you're at a deficit to people that are doing things that you don't necessarily know what it's about. Uh, Not many adults understand the stock market that went to college. So let alone you having athletes that are putting their trust into these bankers and to these private investors, and these bankers and these private investors, they're not designed to give you any money back. So once they get your money, it's a toss up on what's going to happen. Is they're not designed to get. Somebody can go put their money in the bank right now. You can go put $2 million in the bank right now, and you can say, you know what? I'll change my mind. Let me get my 2 million back. Watch what they do before you get your 2 million back. Watch how many phone calls and people will try to talk you out of taking your own money back.
Hey, look like you need to start being an agent for some of these youngsters coming up, brother. You ever thought about that?
I did, and I have a friend named Maurice Evans. He has an agency down there in Texas, and I'm thinking about working with him. You know, we've been talking for a while now, but a lot of these athletes, man, the first thing I would tell them uh, is, first of all, congratulations, and now let's work on getting your family set for life. And the way you do that is buy up your neighborhood. You don't got to cry about no other white man ever. You should be passive income should be your best friend. Instead of joining the stock market, you should be buying houses. You should be buying subdivisions. You should be buying all those cheap houses in your neighborhood because that's what the white folks are doing. How they gentrify the neighborhood is when it's a lot of crime, when it's a lot of shooting and things like that. Those houses go for pennies on a dollar. They come in, they refurbish it, they allocate some funds to that area, which gives jobs and a tax base, which police are going to come, and then now they police that neighborhood in a different manner, and there you have it. It's people making money hand over fist, and then once they move us out, the property value goes up, and then they sell it. Cabrini Green is beautiful right now. If you ever go to Chicago, how Cabrini Green used to look, and all the dogs and things that these people are walking around the same area that you couldn't walk through as a black man before, you can jog it now.
You know what? It was crazy when I went to Chicago one time. You know how they have, and I know you know, the United Center sitting right there, and they had the housing projects right across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy to me, man. And I asked someone, why did they do that? They said, well, they will feel like the people in the project would have a vested interest to take care of the United Center. Now, I don't know if that's true or false or true. What do you think about that?
I honestly don't know, but I would like some very smart people to give the answer to that because I honestly don't know. But
Yeah,
I do know. The only thing I know is that anytime they gentrify a neighborhood, whatever they do for as policing, the economic growth, they need to do that same thing and leave the black people there, because whatever they're doing is working. They just make sure we're gone before they do it.
exactly. Bro, come on with it, man. Come on with it, man. You can
Go play professional sports and use said money to create the job. Never lose sight of the job that you want. Just change up the mentality. Instead of going to work for somebody else, whatever that job is, you can create it yourself. It's always hard work and dedication. I tell this story all the time. We have a young man who he played football for our high school, but he was a LD student. That means learning disability. So he was a guy that was in the portables. But um, these guys worked the entire time throughout middle school and throughout high school. So the whole time while we were doing, class work, we could look out the window and see them picking up trash, pressure washing the building, and things like that. So this one kid, he graduates high school. He didn't go to college. He went straight to work. He got a job with a landscaping business. That landscaping guy, because he's so used to working and in that routine every day, the guy loved him. So they end up partnering, and he got a second truck. Then he ended up spinning that off to a pressure washer business. Needless to say, this guy makes $300,000 a year with a high school diploma and a learning disability. So it's always about the work. Every kid and every person is special. And what they're doing now, like I said, they're dream killers. They're snuffing the life out of these kids by telling them it's so bad. And no matter what situation that you're in, you can overcome that situation with the right mindset. Well, as a kid, you got to think about how us black kids grow up. I've been playing against grown men my whole life. So that's how you, that was the rite of passage for us young kids. You go to the park, you take those elbows, you take those older men toughening you up to see if you're ready for them to pass the torch to you. And the kids that passed the test, like myself, those were the kids that went on to play, D1 or any sort of basketball on another level. It's always the elders, it's always the adults. They have the roadmap. They've been here before. And so now these kids grow up through AAU programs, and they're pampered. They're watching the pros play instead of that grassroots. That this game is made to bond. It's a team game. When I first played basketball or any sport, my mom wanted me to learn how to be amongst men and be amongst young men, and because she knew that was important. But we're losing sight of that by creating superstars and these things like that. So if you can see, the game is kind of getting watered down. Mhm. Uh, it was just, mine was more of a. I mean, it's hard, man. It's some of it I got lucky. Some of it is because it wasn't such an internet presence. But even like now, I just try to avoid. It's all about avoiding situations. I never was the type of guy that went to places that everybody wanted to be at. I've never been to a concert. The only concert, yeah, I did. I went to a Prince concert and an R. Kelly concert that was at the MCI Center. But those are the only type of things that I went to, because growing up the way I grew up, large crowds was never a good thing. I've seen some of my friends get hurt and lose their life. I've seen some of my friends go to jail. I've seen, as soon as we gather in a large crowd, you can't control the outcome, and some of the worst things happen in these large crowds. So uh, I started avoiding these large crowds. So it kind of worked out.
Kwame, I think you are such on a positive road, and forget what anybody else says. What can we expect to see and continue to see from Kwame Brown?
I want my life to be the example. We have a lot of guys on YouTube. They're talking about my father. They're talking about my upbringing. Uh, but all of those things I knew was going to happen. So now, when you have a child that make all these excuses, and when you have a politician that create all these programs, I'm the kid that they created these programs for. I'm the kid that can tell them exactly what worked and what don't work. Uh, no education is going to teach you what I've seen. So I'm almost like, these guys on YouTube is like a PR team for me, because I want to be able to go around the world and speak to these youth like, look, my father was a murderer. I'm one of 8 boys. I was in the welfare line with black and white people. Uh, but through my mindset, my hard work and dedication, I was in a homeless shelter. I know what that smelled like. Uh, I know how people look at you when you're disenfranchised. Some of the worst people for you are the people that's going to look at you and say, "Oh, you can't." I stay away from those people. The people that I like are the people that's going to give you an opportunity in order for you to get yourself and your family out of that position. And so I've been blessed to be a part of YouTube. I kind of know why things happen to me at such a young age, at 19. I kind of know why. If you look at all the media articles about me, they're all negative. Hearing me talk, you know damn well that they shouldn't have all been negative. But um, they know that having a black male sound like me, having my first article in the newspaper when I got the key to the city after I got drafted, the first thing I said was, I'm not special. I'm no better than you. I'm a cheese line kid. Like, if I can do it, we all can do it. And so to take that excuse off the table is an important thing. But I didn't realize how much that affects the bottom line. Black males affect the bottom line on everybody's business. If we come out of this fog, if we stop killing each other, if we believe that we can work and build together, if we actually believe no matter what, we strong enough to persevere, then the economy would crash. You know, that's the one thing that they're afraid of. That's why they always pit us against each other.
You know, well, Kwame, it's been truly an honor for you to give us your time. And man, as far as I'm concerned, man, you could drop the mic unless Ro got something to say, because that last.
But listen though, it's a lot of black kids like this, man.
Yeah.
I've met some beautiful, even as a young kid, I was just one of many. It's just a lot of these kids, they lose their way. A lot of friends of mine, they felt indebted to their families. So they were born in certain situations that they had to do certain things. But overall, man, we wasn't raised to be so violent. My mama, most black kids, mom take them to church. No matter what situation we in, first thing you do, you going to church. So you have a Christian background. You have an understanding of right and wrong. We just, some of us choose to, not do it. But it's a lot of kids that's like me. And if we all wake up, it's gonna be a beautiful thing.
Man, well, may God bless you and continue and have you to continue to doing what you're doing, man, because it's been truly a help. In fact, I know it has. Man, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You know I wake up listening for you. I get that buzz, and I'm like, oh. But no, man, it's been an honor once again. And Ro, you got anything, any last questions, any statements you want to say?
Oh yeah, man. That mama's cooking, that thing that I talk about all the time, people didn't really understand it. But it's that wisdom, it's that discernment of a woman that most of us males, if we get together, sometimes we so, headstrong that it's going to be conflict. It always take a woman's discernment. That's why God didn't make any mistakes when he said mother over children, women over children. And they know that. That's why they take women out of the household and they give them these great jobs and these great positions that they are great, but sometimes it's to a detriment of your child. And I implore any man that if you have enough money that you can give women that perfect peace, that and if they can feel fulfilled by taking care of their children, that is the best thing for a child, to have that mother teaching and nurturing them, because it just gives us a better understanding of life.
Well, and
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me. Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of truth to be revealed tonight.
Part of what has happened is that you can do those things that make the race look like a jump because there's no penalty.
And everything that the white man sells, he sells it under the number 6. He sells it under sex.
It's a systematic attempt to exterminate a people.
Speak on it, you know where you're at. It's where knowledge flow free, so sit down and relax. I said, speak on it, you know what it is. And if you're coming fugazi, then it is what it is. I said, speak on it, you know where you're at. It's where knowledge flow free, so sit down and relax. I said, speak on it, you know what it is. If you're coming fugazi, then it is what it is. Welcome to Speak on It, it been room on this track. I got my nigga JoJo and he's spitting them facts. They try to find out who he is, but he's setting up traps. And niggas be falling in and they breaking their back. We some brothers with opinions, this ain't based on no fact. I'm guaranteed to drop bombs on any base that you at. You think that you beating us now, but we rallying back. I only got so much time because the salary cap. We got stories of glory of black people making it. We here to feed the people, so don't be ashamed to take the shit. We ain't like the others that get on TV and fake the shit. I don't snake the people, I cut the heads off of snakes and shit. Ancestor energy here to form a relationship, to talk about a problem so we can really go face